welcome to the international webinar on emotional intelligence, organized by IRAJ Webinars. In association with ITR Group, on behalf of entire organizing committee, I am Isaac Pereira. Organizing secretary would like to welcome you all for this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our organization. The motto behind this non-profit association is to bridge the gap between students, professors, academics, and industrialists from multidiscipline. Apart from organizing various seminars, expert talks, and conferences, we have various highly rated multidisciplinary journals in the field of science, engineering, technology, and management. Since our inception, we have been arranged various international conferences at various parts of the world like New York, London, Australia, Hong Kong, Dubai, Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, India, etc. More than 1 lakh research papers have been published during our journey. And today I'm glad to welcome you all as a member of this fastest growing network for the advancement of science and technology in terms of research and innovation. Today we were very much fortunate to have an eminent professor and expert who is joining this webinar as an expert speaker and guest. Her name is Professor Dr. Manisha Singh. Presently she is working as an associate professor at University of Engineering and Management at Jaipur, Rajasthan. Now I'd like to welcome our Professor Dr. Manisha Singh to deliver the webinar. Thank you.
Good afternoon, a very good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for providing me this opportunity. Now, as you know that I would be talking on the topic emotional intelligence. What we can expect from this session. The first thing which we can expect from this session is that we will be able to understand our emotions. When we will be able to understand our emotions, we will be able to express this emotion in such a conducive way that we will be able to build a healthy relationship. What we can expect from this session? First of all, we will be able to understand our own emotions and how can we use these emotions in a conducive way so we can build a healthy relationship with others. These are the two aspects on which we will be focusing by presenting this topic, emotional intelligence. Now, what are emotions? How we will define emotions? Just recall that moment when you have faced the first job interview. You were nervous at that time. I'm sure all of you were nervous at that point of a time. Or when your friends give you some good news, you become joyful and that smile came to your face, that happiness came to your face. These are nothing, but these are our emotions. Emotions, if we have to define emotions, emotions are feelings in motions. These are experienced internally, but are expressed externally. Say, for example, if somebody is angry, then their tone will rise, their face become red, and this is an emotion that they are feeling anger internally, but how they are manifesting in real life with their red face or their tone become high. Now, let me put you in one situation. Let's suppose if you are walking through a forest and come to something dangerous, you come across something dangerous like a lion or a bear. After looking that lion or a bear, your heart beats faster, your palm becomes sweaty, your breathing quickened, and this is your emotional response, and which triggers your brain to take some action. And the action could be either you will fight with that bear or you will run from that situation. The same way, let's suppose the fire detector gives us a signal that there is a fire and we have to pay attention to it. The same way, the emotions are the signals which gives the brain, the signals that triggers our brain that there is some situation and we have to respond. If we face some injustice, and if this injustice is done by our friends or by our family, we are ready to fight. But if the same situations we faced at a workplace, we think twice before responding, because we have the fear that might be, if I'm going to mess up with my boss, might be I will lose my job. You know, the poets, the writers, even they don't have, even they are unable to explain the different range of emotions and the human behavior, because there are 34,000 distinct emotions and we are able to focus only on the primary emotions. Now, we know about the emotions, but let me give you another situations. If you had, if at your workplace, your boss blames you for something which you have not done, for which you are not at all guilty, you suddenly become anger, you feel very disappointed, and in that anger and that disappointment, you just put your resignation, you drop your resignation mail. You drop your resignation mail because at that particular moment, you were angry, you were upset that why they are blaming me unnecessary, though I don't have done anything. But once, when this anger comes down, when you come out from this emotional phase, then you regret and you try your hard, you try your maximum to fix that problem. You want your job back. So it shows that if we are not using our emotions wisely, we as a human have to suffer. So how we are going to use our emotions wisely, that is what we mean by emotional intelligence. Now, there are old paradigm about the emotions, how the emotions has been portrayed historically. The people used to think that emotions distract us. They don't lead us to be effective when we are doing some work. They are the reasons that they biased our perception towards the reality. They clouds our judgment, and we are not able to make a rational decision, and that is the reason that we have to suppress or reject our emotions. Now, the new paradigm says that emotions are the reason act. Emotions motivate us to act. Say, for example, if some student have to clear the IIT exam, that pressure, that immense pressure, because they are feeling anxious, they have the fear that if I'm not going to crack the exam, that fear, that anxious, that on their emotions are contagious. Emotions transfer from one person to another person. For example, if your boss is having a very bad type of attitude, not a very good type of attitude, his or her mood will spread in the entire organization, and soon the toxic environment will be there in that organization. So the contagious emotions are not, if you watching some movie and after watching somebody And then after what that emotions are even if you about now, let us see what is emotional intelligence. As I told you that as a human, we are born with emotions, but how we are going to use these emotions wisely at our personal life as well as in our professional life, in that the emotional intelligence plays an important role. So as the definition says, the emotional intelligence is to identify our own emotions and those of others, and to self-motivate ourselves and know how to monitor our emotions and those of the people around us. It simply means, the essence of this definition is that master your emotions, or you have the ability, the emotional intelligence gives you the ability to make emotions work for you instead against you. So your emotions will work for you instead against you, because you are the master of your own emotions. There are some myths about emotional intelligence. Let me just put it in the slideshow. There are some myths about the emotional intelligence, and the people used to think that emotional intelligence is nothing, but it is just a common sense. It's just a common sense because while behaving with others, how we behave with others, how we make the decisions, it just depends upon your ability, your common sense ability. But believe me, friends, it's not just a common sense. It takes a great effort and deep thinking when you have to understand the emotions of another person. The second myth about emotional intelligence is that you can control your feelings. The people think that they can control their feelings. You can suppress your feelings. Emotions are instinctive feelings. If your friend have hurted you, if your loved ones have ditched you, fiercely you will feel sad, you will become upset. It's not possible that you can control your feelings. What you can control is that how you are going to respond that situation, how you are going to behave with that person. That is in your control, but you cannot control your feeling. What you can control is expression of that feelings, that you can control. Now, the people believes that the more emotional people are naturally emotionally intelligent. Again, it is a myth. If you are an empathetic person who have the ability to understand the emotion of other person, your friend knows that you are an empathetic person, and he or she tries to take your undue advantage to cover their wrongdoings in front of their family or their friends. And despite of knowing that he is doing something wrong and he is taking your undue advantage, you let him to do that. It simply shows that you are not at all emotionally intelligent. Emotions doesn't make us weak. If you are an emotionally intelligent person, then believe me, emotions are not going to make you a weak person. The people believes that sharpening your IQ is very easy. We all know that we all are born with emotions. So emotional behaviors takes years in making. An attempt to make the lasting change in your behavior, it requires a substantial commitment. The people believe that once you have got the emotional intelligence, or you are a intelligent person, there is no need to work on that. That is a myth. Because once you stop working on that, it is very easy that you would again become a trap of your bad habits. You will again become that person. When he or she becomes angry, they start fighting. They indulge in all those things which hurt others. So this is a continuous process. Emotional intelligence is a continuous process. Now, let me give you the example of emotional intelligence from our epic Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, or during the battle time, when Arjun was confused that whether he should fight with their cousins or not because of his emotional turmoil. At that particular point of time, the Lord Krishna, he guides Arjun, he motivates him, he inspires him that you have to fight, and if you would not fight, it would be a disgrace for you. The history will not remember you as a warrior. The Arjun soon realized and become ready to fight with their cousins, despite of knowing that he has an emotional bonding with his cousins, which again shows that emotion doesn't make us weak. We act wisely according to the situation. How wisely we are going to use our emotion, as the definition says, the essence of the definition, I told you that the emotion should work for you, instead it work against you. That is what do we mean by the emotional intelligence. Even our movie, just a minute. Yes, even our movies also gives us a lot of teaching about the emotional intelligence. Now understand the difference between a highly emotional intelligent person and the person who is having a low emotional intelligence. The person who is having a low emotional intelligence, they always struggle to understand and control their emotion as well as of others. These type of people, those who are not having control their emotions, or those who are not able to manage their emotions, they lash out. They lash out in such a proportion which seems to be that the matter is not so severe that they should react in such a manner. They lash out in a disappropriate manner. Once they become upset, it takes a time for them to come to a normal mind, or a normal physical or a mental state of mind. They struggle in their relationship. Whatever is that, they always try to dominate the conversation. They always find a way to shift everything back to them. They are oblivious to the person feeling, that they are oblivious to the other people's, what they are feeling, what is their emotions, how they are feeling, what is their current state of mind. And these low emotional intelligent person, as I told you, they are more vulnerable, or they are more prone to lose their temper. Even they are not able, or they will never ever be held themselves accountable for doing anything. Say for example, if they read your text in your cell phone, they will never ever say that it is my mistake. They will say, okay, fine, why you have left your phone unlocked? That is your fault. That is not my fault. So they have the tendency to blame others, and they will always complain if I had a different job, if I have completed my graduation, if I have better friends, if I had somebody, if I had married someone, if I had a better spouse. But they will never ever realize that might be the problem is with you, because they fail to do the introspection. On the contrary, the person who is having a high emotional intelligence, they never ever react harshly. They always give a calculated response. They never take a decision when they are angry, when they are in excitement, or when they are sad. They always try to look a life from the balanced point of view. Neither they are overly optimistic or unrealistic pessimistic. They make the best out of different situations. We all have heard this phrase that if life give you a lemon, try to make a lemonade. So this suits to the person, those who are having a high emotional intelligence. They understand very well that what are the things which is in their control and what are those things which is beyond their control. So now, friends, you have to decide which side you want to be. You want to be on the side of a highly emotional intelligent person, or you want to be that person who always have the complaints, who always have, I wish if I had, I wish if I had. So it's up to you whether you want to be a person having a high IQ or a person having a low. Now, why it is necessary that I should be an emotionally intelligent person? Though we have covered already some points, but yes, what about the workplace? How this emotional intelligence is going to help me in my workplace? The person who is having a highly emotional intelligence, they can easily navigate the social complexities of workplace, and it eventually reflect in their performance. They can the person having a highly emotional intelligent person, because they are able to manage their emotions, that's why they are they are less prone to the stress. On the contrary, if you are not able to manage your emotions, you are more prone to the stress, and which can lead to the different type of health problems, BP problem, suppress immune system, or the probability of heart attack. So being emotional intelligence, it means you are mentally and physically strong. Mentally, if I'm able to control my emotions, then obviously I'm not that much vulnerable to the anxiety and depression, because I'm mentally strong. And if I'm mentally strong, I'm able to maintain the good relationship with the other people. The other people will trust me. The other people will like, it's not like sociability or likability, but the people will trust me, and they know that she will understand our emotions. She will not judge us. She will understand our emotions. Now, the question arises that are we giving the emotional intelligent education in a school? No. We are not giving this emotional intelligence education in school, because that is not there in curriculum, except the few big schools or in abroad. In our education system, they put more stress, or they put the huge stress on IQ, intelligence quotient. In school, we were taught the different subjects, but we were not taught how to handle the frustration, how to handle the anxiety, how to handle the failures, inferiority complex, or the ego problem. We were expected to learn all these things from our parents, from our peers, or other role models. And at the later stage of life, we were told to master your emotions to become successful. Now, what is IQ? How can we define IQ? This intelligence quotient is linked with your intellectual ability. It includes your ability to use logic while solving a problem. It includes your ability to understand the abstract ideas, to plan and strategize. On the other hand, the emotional intelligence helps us to understand the emotions of others, to be more empathetic, to be more compassionate towards others. Now, there is a distinction between IQ and EQ. IQ is an innate ability, and how perform we are going, how well we are going to perform on the different dimensions of intelligence, that is depicted by this IQ. And this IQ would be seen after a certain age. It means if the IQ, let's suppose if the IQ of a person of year 50 and at the age of 50, it will remain same. On the other hand, your emotional intelligence, that is trainable. That is the flexible set of skills which we can acquire and improve with practice. We can learn this. We can develop this emotional intelligence if we are not born with it. But the society places a huge emphasis on this IQ, on our academic achievements. A person is much more than IQ. He or she is a multidimensional personality who needs to be valued for all his innate and learned abilities. Now, research suggests that IQ is not enough for your success. IQs only contribute 20% in your success, and the rest 80% depends upon your emotional intelligence. Before moving ahead, we would understand that how we would define the success. Can we say that success is our IQ? It is like the exams I cleared. If I cleared the UPSC exam, if I cleared the IIT exam, is it my success? Or the marks I scored in schools? Or if I'm working in a top position in some organization, if I am powerful, if I am influential, then can I say that I'm successful? Or success is something else? Friends, success is a relative term. For one person, it might be like that. If he reached the top position in an organization, he or she can claim that he or she is a successful. For the other person, the personal satisfaction, if he or she is personally satisfied, if they have the decent job where they can meet their financial needs, if their family is happy with them, then they will say, I'm successful. So it is a subjective term. We should not always focus on the non-tangible achievement. Always non-tangible achievements are not indicator of success. Sometimes non-tangible achievement or performance can also be an indicator of success. Now, since the people have realized that IQ is not only the single indicator of success. Say, for example, if IQ gives you a job, then EQ tends to take a step further by promoting you. So this emotional intelligence plays a prominent role in your success. To become a successful, if we have to decide that which one is more important, though the statistics itself reflect that EQ contribute 80% in your success, but yes, being a successful, we need the combination of IQ plus EQ to be successful in our life. Now, the emotional intelligence at a workplace. As you can see from this particular slide, the Daniel Goleman, who is the prominent worker in this emotional intelligence research, He said that this emotional intelligence contribute twice as much as in your IQ and technical ability can contribute in becoming a successful. So in any organization, mostly in the reputed organizations, 80% of the competencies that differentiate the top performers from others are in the domain of emotional intelligence. It means in the organizations, if people are working, those who are the top performers, 90% of them are having a high EQ. And this emotional intelligence contribute 58% in your job performance, a very high number, a very high percentage, friends. Now, the World Economic Forum gave a futures of job report, and in this report they have mentioned the top 10 skills which the workforce should be there in the workforce to work in or to thrive in 2020. This is a particular report which is prepared by the World Economic Forum, and they mention the top 10 skills which would be required, which would be needed by the workforce to thrive in 2020. And in these top 10 skills, emotional intelligence is one of the skills. These 10 skills are your complex problem solving, critical thinking, your creativity, people management, coordinating with others, and the emotional intelligence, your judgment and decision making, service orientation, negotiation, and cognitive flexibility. As we all know that we are currently in the Industry 4 revolution, and this Industry 4 revolution is changing the skills which we require to be successful in the workplace. And it's not noteworthy to note that soon the emotional intelligence will be one of the top skills which will be required by every organization. Now, while hiring the companies today, while hiring the employees, while hiring the candidates for their workforce, for their workplace, they are looking through the lens of emotional intelligence. Not even only hiring, but while promoting also, they are ensuring that the person, those are being promoted to the higher position, they should have this emotional intelligence skill. Now, the emotional intelligence become an important factor for hiring and employees. Now, why developing this emotional intelligence is important in a school? Over the past decades, we have noticed that the children are becoming more depressed. They are lonely, they are impulsive, they are more prone to anxiety, eating disorders. And there are many reasons behind that, because the parents doesn't have enough time to spend with their children because both of them are working, or because we all are living in a nuclear family. So the children, they are more prone to the anxiety and depression because somewhere they are feeling loneliness. It is really important for the students to develop that resilience, that how they are going to face the challenges which they will face in the upcoming phases of life, because life is not straight, it is full with ups and downs. So if they face in their life any rejection, if they face in their life any failure, how they are going to face it? Because nowadays, I'm sure you all have heard these type of news. People are committing suicide because they are not mentally strong. They will not teach how they can cope up with these challenges. And since they cannot take that pressure because they are not mentally strong, either they move towards the depression or they commit suicide. And it becomes more relevant when it comes to the pandemic, this pandemic situation which we all are facing. all are cut from our social networks. We don't have, we are at our home. We are not spending time with our friends. We are not going outside. Maybe because these are the government instructions and we have to follow that. But yes, somewhere it is creating a feeling of loneliness to us, which again leads us to a depression or committing a suicide. And there's a report which is given by the mental health organizations that there is a huge upsurge in the mental cases of the people in this pandemic. So if we are giving this emotional intelligence, if we are inculcating this emotional intelligence in the curriculum, we are preparing the children from the beginning that how they are going to face the adversity in their life. Whenever they will face the adversity, how they are going to bounce back. And for this, it is very necessary that they should be emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligent children are not like that. They will be having a success in their professional career by having a low absenteeism, by giving a very good performance. But yes, they are going to live a very happy life because they know that if they are going to face any challenge, how they have to handle that challenge, how they have to cope up with the stress. If we are providing this education, this emotional intelligence education in a school, the children will become more empathetic, more resilient. Somewhere we all are losing that empathy, that compassionate towards the others. And it is the need of the hour that the children from the beginning, they should be taught all these things, that how they can become more empathetic and more compassionate towards others. Now, let me show you one video.
Between emotional and the value that emotional intelligence can have. Because emotional intelligence is something fundamentally different. It's the ability to identify and manage emotional awareness.
So this video will let you know that why emotional intelligence is important in school.
Emotions, which includes regulating your own emotions, but also calming down or cheering up other people. As you can clearly see by this contrast, very emotional people do not necessarily or automatically have a high emotional intelligence because they may only display their emotions freely without thinking about or knowing why they have them. Maybe not even considering the appropriateness of showing them in the respective situation. Now, emotional intelligence as a kid or a teenager meant for me that I would channel things like loneliness or fear, sometimes into aggression. My family background, well, let's say, isn't brutal. So instead of finding the support that I need, I'd rather get it on the basis of, oh, don't be such a crybaby than anything else. My parents didn't teach me the value of emotions. Therefore, losing friends or breakups would hit me harder than many others because I could neither understand my emotions nor those of the others. They just didn't make sense. I thought I'm not supposed to feel that way because I've never learned how to deal with emotions. And with time passing, I realized I'm just one of many people having this issue. Have you ever thought about why people judge or bully each other, be it kids or at work, or even in toxic friendships or relationships? And it can be anything, ranging from sexism to racism. It's because of insecurity due to a lack of emotional intelligence, because it's hard to understand the difference between yourself and someone else. And it's even harder to connect on an emotional level to truly comprehend where someone else is coming from. And in order to change that, we first of all need to consider emotional intelligence as a crucial skill in our society.
This video itself reflects that how emotional intelligence plays a significant role, not in the professional front, but as well as in the personal front also. Friends, as we all, when we live with people, when we work with people, it simply doesn't mean that we are working with people, we are living with people. We are simply living with emotions of other person. When we are working with people, it simply means we are working with emotions. So it becomes very essential that we should understand our own emotions as well as the emotions of other person. Now, the 4 pillars of emotional intelligence, which is given by Daniel Goldman, and these pillars are your self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. This is more or less like a extrapolated Zohri window. The personal competency is your self-awareness and your self-management. It means how I'm going to understand my emotions, as well as how I'm going to manage my emotions. The social competency, it means the social awareness, the relationship management, how you are going to understand the emotions of others, and how, after understanding the emotions of others, how appropriately you act, that you last in building a healthy relationship. Let us understand these pillars one by one. Self-awareness. The first one is your self-awareness. Self-awareness, let me start this with a story. There was a tiger, there's a pregnant tiger who goes out for a hunting, and she finds a herd of a goat. Because she was hungry, so she goes behind this herd of goat, and after running so hard, she became tired and she collapsed in exhaustion. While collapsing in exhaustion, she gave birth to a cub. The goats decided to adopt this motherless newborn baby. So he adopted that child. Now, because that cub has been adopted by the herd of goats, he started repeating the behavior like those around him. So the little cub grows and turns into a tiger, but he acts like a goat, bloating like a goat, eating like a goat. And one day, one big tiger came to the herd of the goat, and goat escaped except this little tiger. Big tiger came to the little one and says, "What's wrong with you? Why you are acting so weird?" The little one says, "But what do you mean by what's wrong with me?" Big tiger says, "You are acting like a goat." And the little tiger says, "I'm a goat." The crux of the story is that the tiger was not at all aware that he is not a goat, but a tiger. Same is the case with us, friends. Same is the case with human beings. We are not at all aware with our potential. We are not at all aware with our strength. We are not able to understand our emotions. So the self-awareness led us to better understand who I am. It led us to better understand our emotions, our strength. There are few competencies of self-awareness, and these are your emotional self-awareness that you know your strength and weakness, self-assessment. You have after this self, you knowing your strength and weakness, you know that where you stand, what type of emotions you are feeling right now. You can name those emotions, because sometimes when we are upset, when we are angry, we are not able to understand, am I angry or am I upset? If let's suppose if you told something to your friend who's your close friend, and you ask them that not to disclose this secret of mine with anybody, and at the later, after a certain period of time, you came to know that they have disclosed your secret with others. Now, are you angry with your friend or are you upset with your friend? So the emotion gets so much mixed that you are not able to understand whether I'm angry or whether I'm upset with my friend. So the self-awareness help us to know that what type of what emotion I'm feeling right now. Self-confidence. The self-confidence let us to know our worth, and we are not relying on others for knowing our value. How can we improve this self-awareness? Before that, just let me give a time if I can play this video. I think it's not. Now, how can we improve the self-awareness? Though there are no predefined strategies or the way which we can say that the one can use these strategy and the self-awareness can be improved, because these are the human emotions, and since we are the person who are having the different personality, different emotions, we can try these different strategies so that we can understand our emotions. The first one is your mood meter. The mood meter, to become more self-aware, it is very essential that you should record your emotions regularly throughout the day. And why we are recording these emotions? Because it will help us to look back and recognize the pattern in emotions, that how we have reacted them in the past. And for this recording of emotions, the Yale University, they have developed the app which is named as Mood Meter. Now, this mood meter, as you can see, that there are 4 zones: the red zone, the yellow zone, the blue zone, and the green zone. And this mood meter is having a 2 dimension, from pleasant to unpleasant, from low energy to the high energy. If you are in this green zone, it means you are having a high energy and high pleasant. It means you are cheerful, you are joyful, you are excited. If you are in the green zone, then you are having a low energy and high pleasantness. You are calm, you are easygoing, you are blessed. If red zone, that it means you have the high energy and high unpleasantness. You are weird, not easygoing. If you are in this blue zone, then yes, you are having a low energy and low pleasantness, not easygoing. You are worried, you are tensed, you are boredom. These are the different zones. How we are going to use these different zones. Whenever we are traveling, we know very well that where we have to go. Same case applies in the case of our emotions. You know very well that right now at this particular movement, you are in the red zone or you are in the blue zone. And it's very okay if you are in these zones. There is nothing wrong if you are in this zone, because we all are human. And it's very obvious that we would be exposed to a different type of emotions. So it's okay if you are in this red zone or the blue zone. But the thing is that where we want to go, we want to be in the green zone or the yellow zone. It means the desirable zone. And how we can do that? That instead of reacting to the situations immediately, we can go outside, we can go for a walk, we can watch the television, we can read a book. It's not, we are not doing all these activities for the fun or the entertainment. We are just doing to distract our mind so that I could come out from that particular zone, that unpleasant zone where I am currently, where I'm feeling angry, where I'm feeling furious, where I'm feeling sad. So how I'm going to come out from that zone? this mood meter will help us to know that how you have reacted in the past. When if you are angry, you started fighting, you abusing others. Now it is the high time. Should I react in the same way, or should I change the way I respond to the situation? So it is a high time that what should I do? That instead of reacting immediately, I should go for a walk. I'm not going to talk to you at this particular moment. I need some time. Once I will calm down, then I'll talk to you. So this way, the mood meter will help you. The second one is that by asking why, before reaching to any conclusion, before judging anybody, you should ask why so many times. See, if you are not promoted at your workplace from last so many years and your peers have been promoted, they are ahead of you. So instead of reaching to the conclusion that this is not the perfect organization, they are biased, my boss is not at all good, you just ask yourself a question. First, am I not really feeling that motivated about my job at that moment? Am I not feeling motivated about this particular job? Why? Because I feel that I have been stagnant in this role. I'm not feeling motivated because I'm stagnant in this current position. And why you are stagnant in that position? Because you have not been promoted from last 5 years. Why? Because others have been promoted ahead of you. And why it happens to you? Because you have not, I have not developing myself as much as I could over the last 5 years. So now you find the root cause of your issue, that why you have not been promoted, because you were failed to give you the time, the enough time to develop yourself in the last few years. So this way you can discover the root of an issue before reaching to any conclusion. It's very essential that one should know the root cause of any issue. Feedback. See, discomfort is a part of a growth. Sometimes we need to have a hard conversation, and if we want to get a more complete picture of our behavior and how we affect others, it becomes very essential that we solicit feedback from others. From whom we should solicit feedback? The person should take the feedback from those people whom he or she respects, or whose opinion matters him a lot. And believe me, gaining these insights, that if they will let you know, because I'm sure that if you respect somebody, if their opinion matters you a lot, say for example your teachers or your parents, obviously they are not the people pleaser. They are going to tell you some harsh reality about yourself, and this insight can be incredibly helpful to you. Now, the next pillar is your self-regulation. How we are going to control, or instead of control, how we are going to manage or regulate our disruptive impulse or mood. How we are going to manage our emotions in a healthy way. How am I going to adapt the changing circumstances? Because believe me, people doesn't like change. People are reluctant to change. Now, what are the competencies of self-management? These are your self-control, trustworthiness, consciousness, adaptability, and innovation. Self-control. It doesn't mean that you are masking or hiding your emotion. It does not mean that you are biting your tongue, not stopping. One should not stop themselves from saying something that they really want to say. It simply means that you have to remain calm when you are stressed. trustworthiness and consciousness, these are the two sides of the same coin, where it is like how you behave in accordance with your personal value and code of ethics. Are you behaving in alignment with your personal values and code of ethics? The people, those who are trustworthy, they are able to maintain a good relationship. Why they are able to maintain a good relationship? Because they maintain their integrity. And they are not only maintaining their integrity, whatever they are doing, whatever they always ensure that whatever actions they are taking, whatever they are speaking, that should be consistent with their personal values. The consciousness means you have to take responsibility for your actions, for your own performance. Do not blame others. But as a human being, we have the tendency that instead of taking the responsibility, instead of taking the accountability of our errors or mistakes, we try to put the blame on others. Light नहीं आ रहा था इसलिए homework नहीं किया. Adaptability. We all know that change is difficult. If you have watched, if you are fond of children's, and if you have watched the children's, you could understand it very easily that how change is stressful for the small children's. The same is the case for the adults, because if they are not adaptable to change, if they do not have the resilience for change, so this adaptability and to be a resilient is the quality one should need to adapt changes. Innovation means you are open for the new ideas, for the new approaches. Now, how can we improve the self-regulation? The first one is your ERO formula. Another is your keeping calm under pressure. And the last one is your ORBAT. Let us understand. ERO. E stands for event, R stands for response, and O stands for outcome. We all know life is never-ending flow of events, and we cannot predict or control the way events will unfold. Event is something which is beyond your control. Say, for example, the person, the situation, the traffic, the weather, anything which is outside your control. We all have noticed that the same situations have been faced by the two different people, and the outcomes is entirely different. What is the reason behind that? How they have responded to that situation that makes the outcome different for them. Now, let's take an example. If somebody cuts you off in the traffic, that is an event which is outside your control. As soon as somebody cuts you in a traffic, you become upset, your mood gets affected, and you, as an outcome, you drive erratically and you get penalized by the traffic policeman. If we are going to apply this ERO formula, like earlier, you all have heard in your life, our grandparents, they used to say, or our mothers, they used to say that think twice before saying something. Same applies over here. Think twice before acting. So if, let's suppose, the same situation, if somebody cuts me in a traffic, and this time I don't want that I should drive erratically and I should be penalized. So I don't want that I should be penalized by the traffic policeman. So for this, I have to change my response. And how can I change my response? I can interpret the thing in this way, that might be that the other person cuts me in a traffic because that person was in hurry. They might be having some urgency. And because of this, I'm not going to let my mood affected. I'm not going to get upset because of all these things. Obviously, when you have interpreted the situations in this way, the outcome would be desirable. Again, we cannot ensure that the outcome always be. There is no 100% guarantee that always the outcome would be desirable. But what is in our control is our response. Like the people used to say, Jesse Drishti, Vaisi Srishti. In this, the same formula applies over here. Stay calm under pressure. Now, how you are, if somebody is pushing your buttons, if they are trying your patience level, then how you are going to maintain yourself calm in that particular situation? That is nothing but that is your self-management. Instead of reacting at that particular moment only, you thought that it is the right time that I should apply some relaxation technique. I should go outside. I should go for a tea or a coffee, or I should cherish all those moments of the past where I have enjoyed my life. I have to shift my focus from this thing to the another pleasant moment. By practicing it seems to be very easy if we say that stay calm under pressure, but it takes a lot of effort when we practice. It's always easy to say something that please keep calm under pressure, but I can understand, we all can understand that in reality, in practice, it's very difficult. But if we become habitual of it, that yes, if anybody is shouting on me, I'm not going to respond instantly. I will take some time. I'll move out from that particular place. At that particular moment, I will go for a coffee, or I will play some game. So obviously, the response you are going to give back to that particular person, the intensity will not be so high. You are not going to affect your relationship, because if we are going to respond instantly, the intensity would be very high. Now, the next is your ORBAD, that is ownership, accountable, responsible, and below the line, that is the blame, excuse, denial. Whenever something goes wrong in our life, we start blaming others, be it our family member, be it our co-worker, but we feel to accept our responsibility when we never held ourselves accountable for our mistake. It doesn't matter whether you think below the line or above the line. What matters is that you should act above the line. And if you are operating above the line, you are in control. You are a victor, because by acting above the line, you build trust, you give respect, and the people would love to work with you. On the other hand, if you are operating below the line, you are being victim. The people would not like to work with you. Even our family, even our friends, they also feel frustrated. Fine, अब आ गए, अब डांटना शुरू हो जाएगा, अब चिल्लाना शुरू हो जाएगा, ये क्यों नहीं है, वो क्यों नहीं है. All these things happens with us. So we have to ensure that yes, we have to operate above the line to be a victor, to exercise the self-management, to improve the self-management. We have to operate above the line. I would take the ownership. I would be accountable for my mistake. I would understand my responsibility. It's not like that sometimes we used to say, that okay fine, because that file will come to me, then I will do the work. Now I'm not responsible, because other person have not completed their work, they have not passed file to me. If they have completed, then I would have further processed it. Stop giving the excuses, stop blaming others. Someday, somehow we have to start taking the responsibility for our actions if we want to be a highly emotional, intelligent person. Now, the next is your social awareness. The third pillar is your social awareness. If you have masters your own emotions, if you are able to understand your own emotions, if you are able to understand to manage your emotions, it means you are masters in half of the emotional intelligence. What half is pending? How you are going to understand the emotions of others. So the next is your social awareness. Now, what is social awareness? It means how you are going to understand and respond to the needs of other. How much you understand the needs of other, how much empathetic you are. Or we can say, because there are three competencies of this social awareness. These are your empathy, as I told you, that how we can, we have the ability to understand, not only understand, but also to respond to the needs of other. Organizational awareness, how much we have the understanding of the organizational politics and how this organizational politics is affect the people, those who are working in that organization. Service orientation, how much ability we have to understand the needs of the clients, the customers. That is nothing but that is your social competence. This is a video.
A shop owner once placed a sign above his door that said, "Puppies for sale." Signs like this always have a way of attracting young children. And to no surprise, a boy saw the sign and approached the owner. The boy asked, "How much are you going to sell the puppies for?" The owner replied, "Anywhere from $30 to $50. The little boy pulled out some change from his pocket. He said, "I have $2. Can I please have a look at them?" The shop owner smiled and showed him the puppies. Down the aisle of his shop, he saw 5 cute puppies, but the one puppy was lagging behind. Immediately, the little boy signaled out the lagging limping puppy and said, "What's wrong with that little dog?" The shop owner explained that the veterinary doctor had examined the little puppy and had discovered it didn't have a hip socket. That's why it would always limp. The little boy became excited. He said, "That is the puppy I want to buy." The shop owner said, "No, you don't want to buy that little dog. If you really want him, I'll just give him to you." The little boy got quite upset. He looked straight into the owner's eyes, pointing his finger and said, "I don't want you to give him to me. That little dog is worth every bit, as much as all the other dogs, and I'll pay full price. In fact, I'll give you $2 now and 50 cents a month until I have him paid." The shop owner countered, "You really don't want to buy this little dog. He will never be able to run and jump and play with you like the other puppies." And the little boy reached down, rolled up his pants and revealed a badly twisted, crippled leg supported by a big metal brace. And he looked up at the shop owner and said, "The line is done so well myself. And the little puppy needs someone who understands."
I'm sure you all have liked this video, and in this particular video, the little boy can understand or can relate with the emotions of that little puppy, that how that little puppy would be feeling, because he can't act and he can't play like other normal puppies. Now, how can we improve this social awareness? Spend extra time observing, asking and listening. Give the speaker your full attention. Try on their shoes. Suspend your judgment. Read body language. Touch emotions in a speech tone. It simply means that give importance to the listening. Become a good listener. Don't listen by your ears. Listen by your eyes also. Notice the tone. Notice their body language, the expression, and they can reveal a lot of things about how they feel. Place yourself on other shoes. Empathy and compassion help us to understand the perspective of other person. For example, if you are standing in a line at a grocery store and the cashier is taking a lot of time to process each order, start losing your patience. Stop right there and think from the cashier's perspective. That might be his that person might be having this as a new job, and he might take some time to learn about his activities. Suspend your judgment. Do not reach to the conclusion. Sometimes we always have that type of a judgment. Okay, fine, my friends always jealous from me because I have achieved so much in my life. This person also is always jealous me. My boss doesn't have a good intention towards me. That's why he or she always overload me with the ample of work. Stop doing the judgment before you know the reality. The last one is your relationship management. And relationship means how using your awareness of emotions, of your own emotions and those of others, how perfectly you are interacting, how effectively you are interacting with the other person, how clearly you can communicate with others, how effectively you are handling in resolving the conflict. It is nothing but it is the bond which we build with others. Let me tell you a short story over here also, that there were 70 scientists and they were working in a very hectic project in Kerala. All of those employees were really frustrated due to the pressure of the work and the demand of their boss. But everybody was loyal to their boss and did not think of quitting their job. One day, one scientist came to the boss and told, "Sir, I have promised my children to take them to the exhibition. So I need your permission to leave the office by 5:30. His boss permitted, but asked him to complete the work before leaving. The scientist started working, and he, as usually, he got involved so much in his work that he forgot to look his watch. When he felt that he was close to complete the time, that was 8:30 p.m. He looked for his boss. He was not there. He was feeling guilty for disappointing his children. He reached home. Children were not there. The man was expecting that his wife and children would boomerang him. But when he reached home, his wife asked him for a coffee. The man was shocked and asked, "Where are children?" The wife replied, "You don't know. Your manager, your boss, came to home at 5:15, took the children for exhibition." That was not mandatory for the boss to do it. But once it was done, a strong relationship is established. Can you guess who was that boss? That was nobody else other than APJ Kalam. Now, the competencies of the relationship management, the influencing the people, the inspiring the people to achieve their full potential, how we are helping the others, how we are developing the others, how we are communicating them, how effectively we are resolving the conflict, the disputes. And if we are doing all these things, we will be able to end up in building a long-lasting bonds with the people. Though still, how can we improve this relationship building? Be an open book to build rapport and trust. Don't give mixing signals. Fix it. Let others know why, and acknowledge the feelings of other people. Be an open book to build rapport and trust. It depends upon you that how much you want to open, how much you want to share about yourself with the other people. That is that thing you have to decide yourself, that you have to figure it out. But if it doesn't mean that you should be open or you should be like an open book. No, it depends upon you with whom you are sharing the information about you and how much you want to share. But yes, being an open, it allows others to know better. It helps others to know better about you, and which reduces the chances of misinterpretation. Don't give mixed signals. You say one thing and your body language doesn't match what you are saying. People usually trust what they see rather than what they hear. Your body should be in synchronization. Your tone or your body, your posture, your body language or your tone of voice should be in synchronization with what you are saying. Fix it. Whenever there is any conflict, whenever there is any dispute, whenever there is any fight, whatever it is, who does it, who started it, who said what, forget each and everything, try to fix it as soon as possible, because the relationship is more important. Because we want to build a good and a healthy relationship with the people. So if we are living with the ego, no, I haven't started it, that person started insulting me, so obviously somewhere we are losing our friends, somewhere we are losing our relations. Let other people know why. This is one of the most frustrating things we all deal in our life. The boss asks us to do our work, that this particular assignment or this particular project is very important and you have to do this project, but forget to tell us that why this project is important. And because I don't know that this project is important and my boss simply asks me to do this project, it makes me irritated. It gives me a feeling of frustration. Why me only? I'm already doing so much tasks. I'm already overloaded. And my boss always give me a multiple task. Obviously, you would have that feeling. So before giving any particular or before expecting others to obey you, to follow you, or before expecting others that they should change themselves, whatever you are instructing them, let them know why you want that they should change. Let them know why you want that they should complete this thing. The last is acknowledge the feelings of other people. While listening somebody, if you find that this people seems to be tense, this people seems to be nervous, it seems to be worried, then simply ask them that I'm sorry, you are feeling like this way. Is there anything which I can do for you? And this can go, the simplest statement can go for a long. It shows that you are taking interest in them, you care about them. So these are the 4 pillars of the emotional intelligence. And the last quote at itself, there in the slide, that our emotions need to be as educated as our intellect. Thank you. Any questions if you have? Am I audible?
Yes.
Hello?
Ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any question if you have?
Thank you, Professor, for sharing your valuable time and for joining this webinar. I would like to thank all our sponsors and coordinators. I would also like to thank our President. We will be happy to hear your comments and compliments or suggestion at our Facebook and Twitter page. This video will be available shortly in our YouTube channel. Kindly subscribe our official YouTube channel, iRaj Conferences and Seminars, for all past and upcoming webinars and expert lectures. Thank you all. See you another webinar soon.